Hey guys, it is 11:45. We're very close to it. Today is Wednesday, March 9th. Trying to see who's making sure I'm on. Okay, I see people starting to jump on. I have to make sure that you guys can see me, since that one day I was on talking for about 15 minutes and nothing happened. Just want to make sure that everyone can hear me clearly. Give me some comments if you can hear me clearly. Give me a yeah. I want to make sure everything is smooth before I get going. Sue, can you hear me? All right, guys. So today we are going to talk a little about being reliable. Oh, good. Sue can hear me. All right. So everyone can hear me. Good. So we're going to talk about being reliable, which is going to lead us into talking a little bit about trust, right? So they sort of go hand in hand a little bit. But so I think being reliable is something that is not expected, or when it is, like, for instance, when it does happen, when you run into a company that's very reliable, very quick to respond, or a person, it seems a little out of the norm, which that's a bad thing. But it's a good thing if you're one of those people that are very reliable, because that's going to help you grow your company, grow your brand, that type of stuff right there. So we're going to talk about being reliable. I think we need some very practical, straightforward tips. I'm just going to give you, about 2 or 3 of them or so, because I think people overlook this aspect of just being able to deliver every single time, especially if you say you're going to deliver something. You have to do it, which is why being able to say no is so important. Because you say yes to everything and everyone, there's no way that you're going to be able to get everything done, and then you're going to look unreliable, which in turn makes you not trustworthy. It's just a bad thing, which brings us back to why being able to say no is so important. All right, so I think one of the biggest things that sort of help me personally is that I have a high say to do ratio, right? So what I mean by that, if I say I'm going to do something, it'll get done, right? I'll make sure it gets done. I think that's something that has definitely helped me up to this point, but I don't have a high ratio of saying yes to a lot of stuff either. Like I talked about, my wife, she always says my favorite word is no. Not that I tell her no a lot, but she hears me say the word no a ton. If someone asks me something, it's better for me to say no rather than committing to it. Because once you say yes, you're sort of committed to it, right? And you really can't go back to the person and say, I know I told you yes, but I'm going to have to take that back. I would much rather go back to the person and say, I know I told you no, but something has changed and now I can help you, right? So you want to have a very high yes to do ratio. So if you say you're going to do something, you must do it, right? So that's number one. Number two, when someone asks you to do something, or you need to help someone out to get something done, you need to make sure that it's a priority for you, right? You need to make sure it's a priority, because if it's not a priority for you, it's probably not going to get done in a timely manner, right? If it's not a priority for you, say this week, tell them, yes, I can help you, but I cannot help you until next week when my schedule clears up a little bit, right? If you just tell them yes, and then it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks later before you get around to that problem. What if they needed help 2 weeks ago? So when you come back to them 2 weeks after they've already needed help, it just doesn't feel right for them. They think that you're being flaky, that type of stuff right there, which definitely is not helping you grow that reliability, being seen as that very reliable person that you need to be seen as. All right, so that's important. So ask yourself if it's important to you, and if it is, commit to it, get it done in a timely manner. Sort of figure out what a timely manner is for that to get done, and then finish it. I think this next one is something that's very, very important. I cannot emphasize this enough. I talk to other business owners. I work with other business owners. When you are really trying to set yourself apart, getting stuff done, you need to focus on timelines, right? Not the deadline, right? You need to focus on the timeline, not the deadline, right? The timeline is when the work needs to get done. Obviously, the deadline is when it's due, right? It is always better to under-promise and over-deliver, right? So if I have a project that needs to be completed by April 15th, right? I'm not going to set it to be completed on my calendar for April 15th. I'm going to set it on my calendar for April 8th, April 1st, right? So in my head, that deadline is April 1st, so I can create my timeline to get it done. So if something comes up, I have a little leeway in there, but I don't play with that leeway in my head. It needs to be done April, 8th if I decided that day. That's the day it needs to be done, right? To me personally, I don't like when I say, hey, let me have this, and then they turn something in at the last second. Like that's just me, something that I don't like. I don't think it's super professional to turn something in at the last second. People like to see that you're ready, you're hungry. The deadline is the 14th. Get it in a few days early. I'm not saying you have to get it in 2 weeks early. Get it a few days early. Don't wait until the last minute. All right, because no one likes to be sort of surprised, right? Let's say if you set the deadline for, let's say if the project is due or whatever's due April 15th, and then you have a surprise come up. A surprise, whether it's avoidable or unavoidable, is really irrelevant. What it's going to come down to is when you go to your boss or you go to whoever you're going to, you need to get this thing out. Now there's a huge surprise because you cannot get it done, right? And of course, there's drastic circumstances where people can, they're gonna, there's ways that can sort of avoid all of that stuff right there. Sort of coming up with, there's a million excuses that I can come up with for anyone. That something, of course, something major happens at the last minute. But how do you avoid that? You avoid that by setting the timeline earlier, right? You set the timeline earlier so that it's nowhere really near the deadline. So if a surprise does come up, it really doesn't affect the project or the goal that you set. It really doesn't affect it. Yes, it may slow your time down a little bit. You may not get it done exactly when you want it to, but you're still well above that deadline, showing that you care. You want to get this thing done. So I think that's very key, right? For us to be more reliable. We want to have a high say to do ratio. If we say we're going to do something, we must do it, right? So be careful about what you commit to. 2, ask yourself if it's important to you. If it's not important to you, figure out if it is, and when you can get it done, And then 3, focus on the timeline, not the deadline. I think that's very key, that you focus on the timeline, not the deadline, right? Don't set stuff up to be finished at the last minute. I personally don't like that. If I have someone that's working for me and I need something completed, and then they set their timeline to coincide with the deadline, and then something happens, a surprise comes up. Now they're going to come to me and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, this happens," which I understand. But that's really not my problem, So you don't want to be that type of person right there, right? Candace asked a question. She said, "I see your mission statement in the back. Can you talk about that next time?" Yeah, I'll talk about that briefly. Our mission statement is a little long, so I'll actually print it off. I'll read it, and then we'll talk about that a little bit. I think the mission statements are very important. As you see, I have it right behind my desk. I look at it every day because I think that's key when you're trying to grow something to keep you tuned in to your values and your morals and that type of stuff right there. You know, your real goal, because there's a lot of stuff that comes up day to day that can sort of sidetrack you. So you want to be reliable, right? Because if you're very reliable, that's going to help you become more trustworthy. I think that you have to be reliable before people start trusting you, right? Trust is huge. Trust is huge. We all know many people that are very reliable. We know people that are very great business men, women. We know people that are great at what they do, but we don't trust them, right? We don't trust them at all. If people don't trust you, it's going to be tough for them to sort of get behind your brand. It's going to be very tough to get people to totally get behind your brand, because they don't trust you. If they don't trust you, you know, they're not going to be able to fully commit to you. Same thing with your coworkers, your teammates, your employees. If they don't fully trust you, you know, they cannot possibly buy in 100% if they don't fully trust you, because they don't know what you're going to do. They don't know if you're going to, you know, throw them under the bus one day, come in, they won't have a job one day. And that's something I try to build with my employees every single day. You know, trust. I think all my employees trust me very, very much. They know that I'm going to look out for the business. I'm going to look out for them. You know, I'm going to be honest with them. I'm going to be straightforward. And that goes a long way, right? That goes a long way when you're trying to build something special. Because regardless of what someone tells you, you cannot do it by yourself. You cannot build anything super, super special by yourself. The person that tells you that they've done it by themselves, they're a liar. Stay away from them. You cannot do it by yourself. You need people that trust you, so that they can do stuff that you can't do. I mean, I see it all the time now. I'll get emails and phone messages about how well my staff is doing. You know, this would be someone that came to the gym. I didn't even meet him. They're talking about how great the gym was. They're writing reviews online, and that's all because of the staff that we have in place here, right? And the sort of values that we want from our employees while they're working for us, right? The stuff that we expect, we set a very, very high bar, but we try to give them everything that they can to be successful, and it's working out great, right? I can, you know, once you hit a certain point, you can't do everything by yourself. You're not going to be able to make every single person happy, so you need your staff to be an extension of you, right? And so, again, that all comes back to you. When you're small by yourself, if you're reliable, doing everything the right way, turning stuff around quickly, you're a very trustworthy person, you're going to attract those kind of people, and then you slowly but surely train them to do exactly what you expect, and then it's sort of that snowball effect, you know. Now, I don't worry about when someone's, you know, driving into the gym. I used to worry at first because it was new. You know, when I wasn't there, is it going to be exactly how I want? Are they going to have a good time? But now, knowing that I have, you know, the right staff, the right people in place, I don't have to worry about that at all, because my staff is just an extension of me. Doesn't mean they're perfect, but they're an extension of me, and they know what we expect, and they get it done. So that's a pretty cool thing about once you sort of build up your reliability and become trustworthy to your employees, to your consumers, that type of thing right there. It's just going to help you in the long term. All right. So that's about all I have for today. I hope this was helpful. Remember, Monday through Friday, 11:45, we'll be live. All right. So tell a friend to tune in Monday through Friday. I'm out.